Hey guys, on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the Crap Vegas Property Bracket Challenge, a win trip for Chris and Josh, Fountain Blues opening, and so much more. So stick around.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas Podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 44 of the Crap Vegas Podcast. I am Chris, he's Josh, and Josh, it is snowing here. It is freezing cold. It looks like it's the dead of winter, but it's going to be up to like 60 degrees in a couple days.
I wasn't going to talk about weather today, Chris. You've thrown the whole opening off.
I was trying to get ahead of the game because I figured that was the direction you were going to go, and I didn't have any maladies this week, so I figured that was the best place to start.
I've got a cold, so I was going to say my voice is a little froggy. But let's talk about your snow. That's more fun. You've got snow in Kentucky in middle of December. That's crazy.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, by snow, Josh, I mean like it will be like a quarter inch of snow that will be gone by tomorrow morning. But it is really exciting for right now.
So for you guys, Chris, I know in the greater Seattle area, if we get like half an inch of snow, the whole city shuts down. We just cancel schools, all that stuff. Is it that bad with you in Kentucky, or does it have to be 6 inches or?
Anything over like 2 to 3 inches usually is enough to kind of shut things down for a little bit. Our big issue, though, is where we are, since we're kind of in the middle, we get a lot of ice. Usually all our snow is predicated by ice. So the ice forms that layer, the snow falls on top of it, so you can't clear it off, and it makes the roads impassable, and it's just a horrible experience.
Makes sense. We don't get that much ice. It's just because we have a lot of hills around here, people just have a hard time.
Okay, if you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email. That's podcast@crapvegas.com. You can message us on Facebook, crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail, crapvegas.com/voicemail. Or the easiest way is always on Twitter.
X.
Nice.
It was
or
squeaky,
Threads,
but, you
even
know.
though, but I'll never actually get it if you send me something on Threads. He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crap Vegas.
I did see, Chris, that I had like 13 new followers on Threads. I don't know who's
I get that notice all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. I haven't posted anything. I'm not following you back because I'm not on there, but it's a placeholder. That's all it
Yes,
is.
no offense to you fans of Threads if we don't follow you back, but I think neither of us go onto Threads much, if at all. So.
Yep, you never know.
Right.
Okay, Josh, previous episode feedback. We received an email from Jackson in Ohio. He says, "Hey, Chris and Josh, was listening to a recent episode and heard you all talk about influencers and what they may be hiding or misrepresenting. It made me think, did you guys ever expect your show to take off the way it did? It may be skewed because of where I usually play, but every time recently I have been at a casino in Vegas, I have someone comment on my Crap Vegas shirt or sweatshirt and how much they love the show. Are you guys glad you started it? Thanks for everything, Jackson." What do you think, Josh?
That's a great question, Jackson. Thank you. I think it's fun for sure to be, recognized a little bit. We've talked about that before. Chris, you were the one that kind of came up with this. What was your initial thinking on how big we'd get?
I honestly don't know. Maybe I should have had a better expectation the first time we started this of what to expect. But honestly, I remember at the very beginning, like the first couple episodes, when we got like 200 or 300 downloads, we were so excited to get we were really excited to get into like triple digits the first couple episodes.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, maybe one day we'll get to 1,000. And that happened so quickly. I was like, oh, okay. And then, you get to 5,000. You're like, this is the best thing in the world. No, I never had any expectations that downloads would be anywhere near what they are, that people would care about us. It was the same thing on Patreon. I thought, gosh, if we could just get like 10 people, I would be really excited. And then you hit 100 and you're like, oh, this is great. And then it just keeps going and going. I don't know. I never expected any of this. There are plenty of days that I say to myself, God, I hate that we do this. I really wish we could stop. Just from a timing perspective, I enjoy talking to you and catching up, but this does require a decent amount of effort. And both of us have pretty busy lives in general. So it is hard to find the time, but no, I never expected it to be what it was. But I definitely am glad that we started it because it's been a heck of a lot of fun. I hope you're having fun too.
Oh, I am. And it is a lot of work. I mean, and I think hopefully that's appreciated. Chris and I put a fair bit of time into this. And I think that that's the fun we get. As you said, Chris is talking to each other. I think that's the big thing. But as the podcast has grown, there's other fun parts too. I mean, we'll talk about our trips to Vegas coming up, but I had dealers that win, particularly Rick, I'm going to say, people come up to him now and mention that they heard about him from the podcast. So he's this like mini celebrity, and Sabrina also.
Oh, good for him.
And so that's kind of fun, is that people are coming up to these other, the people that we meet in Vegas and introducing themselves, and they heard about us on the show. So that's kind of its own little sphere of influence that it's kind of fun.
No, that is pretty awesome for sure.
So to close out, Jackson, I think, yes, we're very glad we started it. It is sometimes work, and that's okay. We're getting supported by particularly our patrons, but coming up maybe advertisers. And so we're willing to put in the work to make it fun and entertaining.
Okay, we got an email from Mark. Mark says, hello, my friends. Question for you guys. What is the largest comp or comp trip you turned down for whatever reason? Can't wait for the property bracket challenge. Get that out soon. Mark.
Well, I think the largest comp trips I turned down were probably cruise-related things. I mean, as far as if you look at like total value of comp trips, I've had comp cruises on everything from Princess and Holland America to Cunard offered to me, and I haven't taken those. I don't know if that really counts, but that's a comp trip that is gambling related. But as far as offers to casinos, there've been, I guess it's probably MGM properties that offer us, I think, both the most. And as we've talked about before, there's a trade-off. At what point do we decide we want to take that bigger offer and not stay at Wynn, to use them as the example? So there have been lots of times that I've taken a lesser dollar value offer to stay somewhere I'd rather stay. Usually that's Wynn. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I was trying to think of it from every perspective here. If we're talking about like free play and resort credit and stuff like that, well, there's plenty of downtown offers I get all the time that offer me literally thousands more than I get on the trip.
Right.
And I don't take them up on that. Although their hotel properties don't have nearly as much value. And yeah, like you, I mean, there's plenty of cruises, there's suite offers at certain properties that are great that, yeah, I just don't have time for. But honestly, I don't let my offers really dictate what it is that I'm going to do. I play where I enjoy the most. And that happens nowadays to be a lot at Aria and Wynn, but it's not like Wynn's offer. I don't predicate a Wynn trip based off what the offer is that day.
No,
I always know
either.
my food and hotel is going to be taken care of. But when it comes to like gift cards and, all that sort of thing, I don't usually pay too much attention. I usually just look at the last minute and say, oh, is there something I can tack on? But to make it even better, Josh, this past trip that I took to Wynn that we'll get to in a minute, I had a gift card for a shopping card for their mall, and I completely forgot about it and just never picked it up. So obviously it's not pushing me to go there.
Yeah, I know what you did. I got my gift card. I had one too, a couple dollars less than Chris's, but I got mine. What I was going to say,
mine
Mark,
was zero effectively, so I don't think it
that's
matters.
What I was going to say, Mark, is I think at when your offers aren't what Chris and I get, they can make a difference. I'm thinking back to my kind of early days when I started to get comp offers and things like that. I might get comped at one property and not at another, and obviously that made a difference. Or when I started to get like $50 in free play, I'd be willing to stay at, I'm just going to make up places, but I'd be willing to stay at Harrah's for $50 in free play or $50 in food and beverage over Excalibur for nothing or whatever. So there is a point in my gambling history where offers did make a big difference in where I chose to stay. If I didn't care as much about the property, I'd take the extra $50.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Josh. And I think we actually have a question later on in the episode that's going to touch base on a very related topic. So I'll save any further comments until we get to that point.
Oh, goody. I can't wait.
But he did mention the property bracket challenge. So what a good time to bring this up. So for those that haven't heard, Josh and I have put together a 64-team property bracket challenge of Vegas-related properties. We've seeded them out. We put them into divisions, and we're having a whole big thing. There's going to be voting. There's tons of big prizes. You could win up to $1,000. We're going to have tons of video content with guests that are going to be helping us with the selections. It's a whole thing. All the details for that can be found at crapvegas.com/brackets. But we do encourage everybody to head over to the Patreon page and get signed up. That's where you can register to win the prizes. They get all the video content that the general public does not get. And everything is typically posted there a few days before anybody else would ever see it. So it's going to be awesome. We are extremely excited. Now it's just up to Josh to do his thing and get everybody in the same place at the same time, but we're ready to keep it moving.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. The initial response on Patreon has been terrific. There have been, I don't know how many messages we've gotten today, Chris, or not messages, but tags, notifications, that there's all this back and forth from our patrons on the seedings and who's going to, win what and that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun.
Will Silver Sevens take out Encore? I mean, a lot of very important questions are being answered.
And Chris, is it correct that you talked about $1,000 in prizes? Is that just for patrons?
Yes. So the prizes are only available to patrons. We're going to pay the top 3 people that make the right choices. I think first place can win up to $1,000. Second place can win up to $500, and third place up to $250. So almost $2,000 in prizes available to patrons that sign up for this. If you win, it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun, Josh. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to record the first episode.
Me too. But anyway, if you do want to join us over on Patreon, the brackets are out now, and we have a preview show Chris and I did about our initial thoughts on the brackets that came out. There was an anonymous seeding committee that picked the properties involved. So if you're mad at the seedings, don't blame us.
Yeah, committee. That's an interesting word you chose for a single person. Can you be a one-person committee? I'm not sure, but if you can, then
just like
we
you can
know
be a
somebody
one
that did
person,
it.
you can be a one-person army. You can be a one-person committee.
Good, perfect. Okay, last thing, Josh, before we keep moving, we got a Facebook message from Christopher, and Christopher said, "I heard the latest podcast, and although I've heard mention of it before, I was a little taken aback by Chris and Josh's disdain for downtown. I've stayed all over Vegas, including the high-end spots, and it turns out that I'm more of a downtown kind of guy. My wife prefers it too, believe it or not. I get the ick factor for sure, but the ability to walk from one joint to another in less than half an hour is a big plus for me. Yes, I know you can make it from Planet Hollywood to Cosmo in 7 minutes. And as a green chip bettor, most of those joints appreciate my action way more than the spots on the strip." What are your thoughts on this, Josh?
Well, I don't want to put words in Chris's mouth, Christopher, but first of all, thanks for your message on the Facebook group. But I don't personally disdain downtown. I enjoy downtown usually when I go there. I haven't had a bad experience downtown. So I do like it. I just go there with a certain intent of what I want to play and how I want to behave and that kind of thing. And where I choose to be, I guess I should say, where I most enjoy myself on a usual Vegas trip is on the strip at a nicer property. I just like that level of service that I get. I like that level of bed. I like that level of noise at night, all of the things that I might not get downtown. It's not to say I don't like downtown. And I haven't, as we've talked about before, I've never stayed downtown. So I can't give a totally balanced opinion because I haven't stayed there. I do want to at some point. But that's kind of my thoughts. I don't disdain it. It's just not where I choose to spend the bulk of my time. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, disdain's the wrong word. I have disdain for a certain individual that owns properties downtown, but not the properties themselves. I mean, they take the brunt of it because that's the easiest way to do it. I like playing downtown. It's just like anything else in life, though. When you have access to a finer level of things, a higher level of luxury, why would you drop down? If you can fly first class and do that, then why would you fly coach? You wouldn't if you had that available to you. That's kind of our situation now. We can stay in the nicest properties, and sure, we can get more. Maybe we get a bunch of extra bags of peanuts if we flew in coach that we don't get up front. But it's just so much nicer to stay at a luxury property and get treated that way. And if you're going to gamble the way we do, you might as well get something good out of it. And no matter what anybody says in my mind, there is nothing downtown that is even remotely close to things on the strip that we're staying at. And you can say Circa all you want, but Circa is not the same level of luxury as it is at Wynn, Bellagio, Aria, even Venetian. It's just not the same thing. I think Michael Traeger refers to it as bro luxury at Circa, and I can definitely see that, but that's just not what I'm looking for at this point in my life.
Yeah, and Christopher, I think that Chris is right, and you probably do get treated a lot better as a green chip player downtown. I mean,
sure,
that's pretty big action for a lot of the properties downtown, and I'm sure you get treated great. And if that's what motivates you, more power to you. I'm all in favor of that. And if you're somebody that likes to wander and go from property to property and you don't care as much about playing at one place and getting status and all that stuff, yeah, the fact that you can run around to 5, 6, 7, 8 casinos all within, a block or two of each other and a quick walk is great downtown. So if you're not wedded to one casino, I mean, sometimes I'll be at Aria, for example, I won't even leave the property for 3 days. So I don't have that need to go bouncing around a lot. But that's one value of downtown for sure.
I agree. So, Josh, I pulled a couple responses from some of our listeners to this post. I thought it'd be interesting to share. We got a response from Chris. Chris said, I think for many people, the Vegas experience is the Strip. Downtown has many pros and cons, but I think for some, it's the idea that if you're going to travel all the way to Disneyland, you probably don't want or need to go to the parking lot fair 2 miles away.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call downtown the parking lot, but was it, you said this was from Chris. Was this really you?
It was not me. Yeah, I was disguising. I didn't want to point it out, but no, this was actually somebody else. I wanted to give them credit for their very catchy response there.
I do like the analogy, but I wouldn't go so far as to say downtown is the parking lot.
Okay, fair. It wasn't me, Josh. I promise. We got a response from Adam. Adam said, I do like the music, vibe, and table minimums at the casinos on Fremont. However, it's always refreshing coming back to the Strip. The girlfriend always says she needs to shower when coming back from downtown.
Now, see, that's kind of what I would say too. I like the music when I go downtown. When we've talked about it before, when we go to Golden Gate, it's loud, but that's part of what I know I'm going for. I'm going to drink. I'm going to, there's going to be loud music while I gamble, and I can gamble cheap. And that's exactly right. But I want to come back to win, to shower.
Yeah, exactly. And a final one I pulled, we got a response from Jessica. Jessica said, with the exception of Circa, I'm not a downtown fan. The street vendors can be aggressive and make me uncomfortable. The crowds just seem a little more unruly. I do appreciate the lower table minimums, though, so when I do go, it's usually in the morning when things are more chill.
Makes perfect sense, Jessica, and I think that's kind of exactly right. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the buskers and all the hustling that goes on downtown, and I get that too.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you for all those
thanks,
questions and feedback on previous episodes, guys. We really appreciate it. Okay, Josh, both you and I took a trip to Vegas in the past couple weeks, so I thought we would recap the trips and some of the interesting things that were a part of it.
It was really fun to get to hang out with you, Chris, while we were in Vegas.
I literally pulled out of town and Josh's flight landed as I was leaving. It's like we intentionally planned it that way. And I can't tell you how many comments I got from Wynn employees when I told them I was leaving and you were flying in. They're like, you really couldn't overlap your trip? I said, talk to Josh. He knows I'm a weekend guy and he did not care.
Chris is not exaggerating. I got the same comments about how come you guys couldn't, time your trips together?
Exactly.
Where's your brother? And I'm like, he was just here.
Yeah, most of them knew that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this trip, Josh, we both stayed at Wynn, which was really cool. I was glad to get back there. It seems like it'd been a while since I'd been there. But one thing that was really interesting for your trip is that you stayed in a Wynn salon suite, and I have never seen one. I've never heard about one. All I know is I'm not important enough to get a place like that.
Yeah, my trip was a midweek trip. So in full disclosure, this was comped as most of our trips are. I emailed our host and said, here are the dates that I'm going to be in town. What can you do for me? Is there any chance I can get an upgrade? And as our friend Michael Traeger loves to say, it never hurts to ask. And I did. And lo and behold, he said, I'll give you an upgrade. And then I got my reservation, and it was for this 1,900 square foot salon suite, Chris, which there's a video of it that I put out on our Facebook group. So if you want to see the room, it's on our Facebook group, and a couple still pictures on Twitter. This room is something. First of all, it has an ornate ceiling that's beautiful, and this big sitting area, big living room area with a separate table with like a booth. Beautiful. It has a massage room.
Ooh, Steve Wynn loved that room. That was his favorite place to stay.
No comment. And there were a few people on Twitter and the Facebook group that commented on things that may have gone on in that room. I chose to just live in willful blindness about things that may or may not have.
Don't pull a black light out in that space. I mean, that is not something you want to do.
But it had, of course, it had a powder room and the extra bathroom and that kind of thing. 2 separate thermostats. The room was beautiful. A couple kind of things that, first of all, it was wasted on me. And Chris, I think you get this too. I'm sitting here. I'm one person in a 1,900 square foot room, or 2 rooms effectively. It was neat to have it. I'm glad I had it. It's fun to talk about on the show. I didn't need it. And, I had room service a couple times. The room service guy comes in and It's like, where in this big, massive space do I want to put the room service table?
Did you rotate around to different spots just to
pretty
feel like
much
you used
did.
it all? Okay, good.
But there were some differences that I wanted to point out. So one of the things that I did not like about the salon suite, Chris, was if I'm going to get into the Wynn nitty gritty or the Wynn whatever you call it, minutia a little bit, but Wynn's normal rooms, the air conditioning unit is placed so that it doesn't blow directly on you. It cools the room, but you're not getting a fan effect on you. In the salon suite, Chris, the air was blowing right at me. So when you turn the air down cold, which I like, it's like a cold fan is blowing on you all night. So I finally had to turn the air conditioning off in the bedroom and leave it on in the main room area and just hope it cooled off the room. That's a little thing, but it was something that wasn't like, it almost would make me choose a regular room because of that.
Okay.
So it was that big an issue for me. Just a personal preference, I guess. The massage room, I turned up so I got a massage. If I have an in-room massage,
you had to. Yeah.
I wanted to do a massage in the room. First of all, that's only about, I can't remember exactly, but I want to say $10 or $15, maybe $20 more to have it in your room. So to me, that was like I was expecting it to be a lot more to have it in the room. So when I was getting ready for the massage, I thought I should make the room warmer. You know, you want a nice warm massage room. So I turned up the heat in the massage room. Apparently the heat doesn't get turned on much in there because it had this horrible furnace smell.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So I'm getting ready for the massage. The room was really stinky of this furnace smell. That all went away pretty quick. So the massage itself was wonderful. My massage therapist and I were chatting a little bit about Fontainebleau and about the fact that the owners of Fontainebleau had stayed at Wynn during the construction of the property.
Okay.
Which, of course, you know.
Which makes sense. Yeah, it's just like Justin Timberlake performed at the opening night for Fontainebleau, but he stayed at Wynn.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, as Chris said, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel, that's his wife, right? I've got the right
Yes,
couple,
I think so.
were performed at the secret private opening ceremony at Fontainebleau, and they stayed apparently in the Wynn villas after that. And Wynn Instagram posted a picture of Justin and Jessica walking back to their room at the Wynn villas and said something to the effect of everything always comes back to Wynn.
Yes.
My understanding is that at the request of Justin Timberlake's team, they have removed that post.
Oh, have they?
Yes.
That didn't look good for him. Now, I have heard people say that Fontainebleau didn't have all their suites available the first night.
Right. They may
I've
not have
heard-
had their, yeah.
But quite frankly, if Justin Timberlake's coming to perform for you, you would think you'd just get one suite ready. You know, maybe?
Yeah, you would. I mean, because you're right. It's not a great look, even if it hadn't been as public as it became that he's staying at Wynn. Well, yeah, I would have wanted him to stay at Fontainebleau. Anyway, a few other things. That room was phenomenal, a beautiful room. But if you're going to be entertaining, it would be a fantastic space. It just was too much for me, honestly. A little tidbit that I got, Chris, that I wanted to share with you before we forget. When I got picked up by our the Wynn driver, and we're going back to the hotel, and we were talking about just chit-chatting and Formula One and its effect on Wynn. And he said Formula One, a lot of places had horrible traffic, but because Wynn has the golf course, they were able to use the golf course access roads to transport guests to and from the airport and around to different locations in Vegas. So they had the Rolls-Royce Phantoms and everything going in these underground golf course roads. And I just thought that was fun.
That is pretty cool. I'm glad they figured that out.
A couple other notes I had, Chris. Charlie's, which is the sports bar at Wynn, has added some menu items. They may have taken some things off their menu, but they added some menu items. The most notable one for me was a caramel milkshake. So that was very exciting, and I had it, and it was good. Wynn still does not have hot fudge sundaes back on the menu. You probably noticed that too. But
no, I noticed that as well, Josh. I even asked her on the phone when I called, and she said, "I'm sorry, we don't offer that any further."
Very, very disappointing.
Okay.
I got my shoes shined as part of the Wynn. Wynn has a shoe shine bag in the closet, and I thought I was going to go to the big Sinatra dinner, which we'll talk about. And I thought, so I brought a suit and everything, Chris. I brought a suit with me to Vegas, which Rarely happens. And I thought I would get my shoes shined, so I put them in the bag. I filled out the form. I left it out for when housekeeping came. It's only $6 to get your shoes shined, plus I tipped $10, so it was $16 to get your shoes shined. And they were back by the time I got back midday, and my shoes were all squeaky clean.
I would hope so.
Let's see. I think those are the big comments that I had about the salon suite and the Wynn room itself. Couple things about gambling. I don't know about you, but gambling at Wynn sucked for me.
Yeah, definitely for me too. It was not good.
Of course, it was great to see all the crews. I played with just some of our favorite dealers, Rick, who I mentioned already, Liz, JoJo, Montana. I mean, just some great, I can't even think of everybody. But I did, Chris. It was so bad that I've coined a new term, a prophylactic TTO.
Oh, you got to be protected, Josh. That's the safest way to be.
What do you think if you had to guess? I haven't defined this for Chris yet. If you had to define what a prophylactic TTO would be, what would you think I would be?
I would say you were bouncing up against your credit limit and you went ahead and took the TTO before you needed it, just in case you were going to need it. It was just in case. It was a preemptive TTO.
Right. That's exactly right. And for those of you that kind of haven't followed along, we've talked about TTOs before. It's a one-time extension of your credit. Usually a casino property, at least in my experience, won't let you have one until you have exhausted your credit. Well, in this case, on day one of the trip, I was worried about
a 5-day trip. Yes.
I was worried about exhausting my credit. So I thought, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out up to my credit limit. So I went to the slot thing and got high limit slot area and got Tito tickets for the remainder of my credit, at which point I asked for a TTO. And the answer I got back was, well, it looks like, yes, you have this much credit out, but it looks like you've only lost this much. So there's that. And they said, but we'll give you one anyway. So I got a prophylactic TTO, which, long story short, I needed at Wynn, but fortunately made some of it back at Fontainebleau, which we'll talk about.
Well, that's good, Josh. I think your offers now at Wynn will rise to the same level mine are at because now you have actual losses where they want you to be.
Yeah, exactly.
See, it's a win-win. I mean, don't worry about the money side of it. That's not important.
Now, as we quickly, Chris, transition over to your Wynn trip, we can start with your special event experience. But first, I want to tell you about my special event experience. So I kind of hinted at it a minute ago. When I told our host that these are the dates I wanted to go to Wynn, he said, are you interested in going to this rare, one-of-a-kind, one-time experience at Sinatra? So this was December 12th, and December 12th, apparently, is Frank Sinatra's birthday. So Wynn was having a special party to do, and Frank Sinatra's daughter, Tina, most people know Nancy, most people know Frank, but apparently there's Tina also, was going to be at the dinner. There was going to be her talking about history with her dad and a dinner. And it was a $250, I think was their retail price experience on this, or retail price for this experience. And it was going to be a comp ticket that was offered to me. So I said, absolutely, I'll go. I'm going to be there. That's the reason I brought my suit. So Chris doesn't even know this yet. But at 4:00 that afternoon, I got a text from our host saying, Josh, something went wrong.
Okay.
And I can't get a ticket for you. And I feel really badly.
I'd love to say that I'm surprised by this, but I'm not. That kind of falls in line with my past experiences. I can't tell you how many times I've scheduled a trip to Wynn, and our host gets everything set up, and he texts me like a week before and says, hey, this event is going on. Maybe it's like a slot tournament, or it's, something else like that, or it's a dinner like this. And he'll say, are you interested? And I'll say, yeah, absolutely. It sounds good. Put me down. And then I'll get a text like a day before the trip. Hey, Chris, we didn't have room for you. Maybe the next time. Why did you even ask me then? Hey, do you want to do this? I'm not going to let you, but I just wanted to know if you were interested.
So, I mean, this mine was supposed to be confirmed. It wasn't even like you. It wasn't even. And so I went down to this was about the same time I was doing the TTO thing. I think that all this was going down. So I was talking to the host and I said, I brought a suit for this, partly tongue in cheek, but it was like trying to make him feel bad. It wasn't that big a deal for me. I was by myself, and our listeners, Joyce and Jason, who I met up with a few times, they were not able to go either. So I had thought maybe I'd get to see them and that kind of thing. But so it all worked out fine. But I did say to our host, how about, since you screwed me over on this, maybe you could take care of my massage? Because Win doesn't usually comp your massages, and he did. So I think
wow. You use that to your advantage. Josh, it reminded me recently, one of our listeners, James, who also is the moderator on our Facebook group, he went to Vegas on a standard Win offer, not a host booked offer. And the offer said it included 2 tickets to Awakening, which pretty much every Win offer made nowadays includes.
Right.
That's included on every offer we ever see, and we never use them for the most part. And he said that the show was dark while he was there, so he was able to finagle that into some free play.
Hey, that's fantastic. That's a great idea.
A resort credit or something like that. But really proud of him, and I guess for every trip we take in the future now, we need to say, hey, I don't want the tickets, but give me an extra 100 in free play, please.
That reminds me, when I opened the door of the salon suite the first night, Chris, I go in the room and the TV is kind of directly in front of the doors. And there's a big Awakening promo going on.
Oh, God. It is nonstop in the bedrooms. The moment you walk in, the blinds open, the lights come on, and you see Awakening promos until you can turn them off. And, of course, they got rid of remotes in the Win rooms now. So you have to use the iPad to turn the TV off, and most people don't know that. So you see that same ad about 100 times before you get it off your screen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, by the way, of not having remotes. The iPads
I'm not either.
I want to just be able to quickly turn them off and on, and it's harder when you have to do it off the iPad.
Or adjust volume or anything like that. And you got to get it's a whole pain in the butt. I don't know why they would get rid of those. Just bring it back, please.
They're fancy. But anyway, Chris, so we have talked about my special experience that wasn't. You had your own special experience at Win. What was that?
I did, and I wish I took better notes because I don't remember half the details. But I can tell you that I found out about, 4 or 5 days before I was about to go, I got a text from this same host that Josh got shot down by, saying that Willie Nelson was going to be putting on a private event at Win that weekend that I was scheduled to be there. He was going to be there with another individual who I think is the star of Yellowstone, but that is not a TV show that I watch.
Kevin Costner?
So I can't even. No. Not Kevin Costner.
He's a star of Yellowstone.
Okay, well, maybe this is another star of Yellowstone. I don't know. It's another guy that kind of looks like a cowboy. But anyways, Willie Nelson was going to be there. It was a little private experience, and he asked if I was interested in going. I asked Josh. I was like, Josh, I usually don't want to go to things like this, but do you think I should go? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. You should go.
For the show.
Fine. For the show, Chris. So I said, sure. Okay, I'll take, he goes, do you want 1 or 2 tickets? I said, I have no friends. Just put me down for 1. My friend wouldn't come. And I even tried to talk Josh into coming just for that reason. And he almost bit. Almost. But I couldn't get him over the edge, and he didn't come with me. But anyways, so I was lined up. He did confirm my ticket, Josh. And he didn't pull it back by the time I got there. So it was really good.
I apparently hadn't lost enough, I guess.
I guess not. Although it sounds like you had lost plenty at this point, so I don't see the issue. They should have given you a VIP seat after what you did. Anyways, they were holding this event out. Josh, if you head towards the golf course, it's like a covered gazebo area that they do some events. I think they host weddings there and stuff like that as well. That's where it was taking place. I had never actually been out there. It's very pretty. The event was right in the middle of the day. If I remember correctly, it was at 1 o'clock. It was like 1 to 4 or 12 to 3, something like that. And when you got out there, they had, I don't know, maybe 200 people.
Okay.
Maybe
so
total.
It was a small group.
Yeah. It was not a big group by any means. It started with Willie and the other gentleman just telling some stories from their life that was really interesting. Willie did end up performing 2 songs that I saw, and I had to step away for a minute and take a call, so I missed one. I don't know. But I did get to see that. That was really cool. And then it finished up with a kind of like a barbecue lunch where they had a bunch of really good food that they had made there. They had ribs and they had sides and potatoes and they had some desserts, everything you'd expect like on a country cookout as they called it.
Right.
I didn't stick around and eat. I wasn't interested in the food. I just wanted to kind of say I experienced it. I was there. I saw the people and then I got out. So if it was a 3-hour event, I was probably only there for 75 minutes. I didn't stick around for the whole thing, but it was really cool. I appreciated having the opportunity to go. I did enjoy it. And yeah, this goes back to that question we get asked all the time. what are the special things that Win really does for their members other than what's on the website? Stuff like this.
Yeah.
Stuff like Josh's opportunity he didn't get to do. Stuff like my opportunity that I did get to do. These are things that even as of the day that he asked me if I was interested, it wasn't on their website yet. I looked everywhere trying to find the details.
And the same with the Sinatra at that point too.
And I think they put them up like 2 days before just so they can say it. And if you try to book a ticket, it tells you they're sold out. I think this event would have been $300 retail, but quite frankly, it doesn't matter because there's no open seating anyways. I'm sure everybody there was comped into it. But just a really cool experience. I hope they continue to do more stuff like that because it's just things you can't get anywhere else. And even when we're comparing it to like MGM and stuff, we never have anybody from MGM reach out and be like, hey, do you want to go meet Dave Matthews next week, in a side room or something?
Right.
That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to go. I would have really, really wanted to go to that. And, it would have been a chance to actually go to one since my Sinatra one got yanked out from under me.
Canceled.
I'm not bitter. I purposely didn't tell Chris about that until the show.
I appreciate that. To wrap up our win trips, Josh, the only thing that is worth mentioning is I have officially converted myself just to be a slot player. I found out financially it's much more lucrative. I think I hit 6 hand pays this weekend or last weekend while I was there. I was up probably $4 or $5 grand from slots, which for me is actually pretty darn good.
Very nice.
Other than the tax consequences I'll have to deal with here in a couple weeks. But other than that, yeah, the craps were absolutely terrible. The only positive the whole weekend, I had one winning session.
Right.
And it was a session I was at the table by myself and I made them all by myself.
Yeah, you hit the all small.
If you're going to make them all, I'd almost rather some people be there so people can be cheering me on. Like, yes, you're the best. Because every time there were other people at the table, it was like 0.7 or a couple rolls and 7 out. And I just felt like a jackass like you do sometimes when you're having bad rolls. And then everybody leaves the table and I make them all. And I just want to point over and be like, screw you, buddy.
Nobody was there.
See, I can do it. And nobody was there.
And it wasn't even our regular dealers, was it? Because like nobody told me. Chris rolled the all tell small.
No, I don't even remember who. I think Montana might have been on the game.
Right.
But no, it was such a bad trip, Josh. Just no table was going well. It didn't matter who was shooting. A really good roll. I was getting my bets raised up from 100 to 250. Right. I wasn't getting any real press action at all. I'm sure my average bet was much lower than it typically is because of that. And that's a question we're actually going to touch base on here in a minute as well.
Really quickly, I had kind of the same result at craps. I had 2 winning sessions. One, thank goodness, really helped me. It was actually a crapless session. Things were going so bad. I saw a crew that we really like at the crapless table. I thought, whatever, if I have to blow another X $1,000 on the crapless table, I might as well do that. I got my prophylactic TTO. And that was a big, nice crapless session. I hit a $200 12, which if you don't know crapless craps, that place pays 6 to 1. Yeah, so that was a nice hit. Yeah. I hit a $600 6 or $600 8. So I had a really nice swing. And then I had one other session that I finished positive a little bit. For me, though, I was kind of the same as you. Slots helped me. I started playing the new NFL slot at Win, which I know is probably a low house edge, but it was working for me. I had 2 hand pays on that too. So it was a lot of fun. If you haven't played the NFL slot machine and you're an NFL fan, it's a fun game. I'm not saying you'll make any money on it, but it's a fun game.
You did say it was a low house edge on that game. I'm going to say it's a high house edge.
That's what I meant.
Those themes, those theme slots, they have a tendency to keep a lot of your money, but they can be super fun. So I'm glad you were at least able to get a couple hand pays and enjoy yourself while you were playing.
So Thursday morning when Fountain Blue had opened at midnight, effectively on Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday morning I woke up and I was going to go over to Fountain Blue and I wanted to do one more. At this point, I'm about giving up on Win. I thought I'm going to play one more round of the NFL slot. I was 4 spins in and I got a hand pay. So that was a nice way to finish at Win.
Cap the trip off and say, I'm out. Peace out,
I'm
bitches.
out, right. Over to Fountain Blue I went.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. So tell me about Fountain Blue. You were there effectively the first day that they were open. What did you think about the actual look of the property, the layout?
Yeah, so I went over. This was 8 a.m. on Thursday morning or so. I met up with our listeners and patrons, Joyce and her husband, and we went over and we shared a cab over to Fountain Blue from Wynn. It's just 5 minutes. No issues with traffic or getting dropped off in the cab, which I was worried about if I had gone over at 11:45
in the evening or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason I wanted to go in the morning. First impressions, Chris, were this place is beautiful. When you walk into that casino floor, they have kind of a blue. I was informed by Joyce and Jason that it was kind of more of a periwinkle. I said
good.
I said lavender. That I was corrected that periwinkle color to it. Really, really pretty. There's kind of big escalators that you can look down on the casino floor. It to me, I was trying to think of how to describe it. And if you're into, Vegas news and all that stuff, you've probably seen views of it already and things like that. I encourage you to take a look. I think of it as somewhere, Chris, a cross between Cosmo, Aria, and a Resorts World. It's kind of fits in that. There's some elements to all of them. It kind of has that feel. It's a beautiful casino floor. So I was over there for about an hour, 2 hours. I went twice. I'll explain that in a minute. But for the first time I was there, and I think I may have even texted you, Chris, that I could see this being a second property to us. If we wanted to not do Aria anymore, MGM, and we wanted to focus on Wynn and a different property, I could see this being a second property. Now, I've cooled on that a little bit, I think, but that was my initial. I will say a few things. The crews that I talked to, really, really, really over the top friendly. I mean, you'd kind of expect that on opening day.
Opening day.
Sure they've right.
Yeah.
But
let's get off on the right foot here.
Everybody really nice, extraordinarily nice. Some hiccups for sure. I had a good first session on craps. First of all, I played the new hiding machine, Chris. There's a new hiding machine called Roll Out the Barrel.
I saw the photos. I was very jealous of you.
And I got a hand pay, which took a bit for the slot attendant to come, and not a huge hand pay, but a hand pay. So then I played some craps and won on the crap session. So I had a $5,000 chip, and it took forever for the cage to cash me out with a $5,000 chip. They wanted my player's card. They wanted my ID. They had to get supervisors involved. At one point, there were 4 people trying to figure out what goes in the computer where, and calling back to the craps pit to make sure I didn't steal it or whatever.
Yep.
Some comments just on the aesthetic a little bit more. The craps tables have kind of a plain gray felt that some people didn't like, some people did. I liked it. It's a very kind of minimalist look to it. I mean, I think I'm not big into the history of the Fountain Blue or why they chose, but I think they were definitely going for a retro 50s, 60s, even 30s or 40s vibe on the casino floor and all the decor and stuff. And I think
back
the
when you were
craps
a kid.
table, yeah, exactly. And I think the craps table kind of fit into that. It wasn't gaudy. It wasn't big, Raiders logos like you see at some of the MGM properties or whatever. It was just very plain. The tables were long, like the ones we see at, what's the downtown? At Golden Gate. Really long like that. It felt like to me, big long ones. I could be wrong, but
there's one strike against them.
Yeah. But I wasn't crazy about the rails. The rails were the only part of the table that felt kind of cheap. They were this glossy plastic thing. But the dice are so cool. They're blue.
What's that?
Oh, they're blue, and they have the bow tie on them. Fontainebleau's theming is bow ties everywhere. And they were just they're like the coolest dice I've ever seen.
Perfect.
Other than the Crap Vegas dice, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. crapvegas.com/shop. Josh, odds on the tables, 3, 4, 5?
Yep, pretty much norm. Nothing special about anything.
All tall, small?
Anything. Yeah, all tall, small, the lower payouts, nothing, just same as every other strip property I found from a craps perspective. I didn't play any other table games. I didn't look at any other table games. So, but I'm assuming it's the usual 6-5 blackjack most places and things like that. They have a huge high limit table games area, Chris. I mean, it is enormous, with a number of smaller private gaming salons, kind of offshoots of that. If you go to the high limit bathrooms from the table games area, you go down this corridor and there's lots of little sitting areas and really nice kind of places you can go. And you're walking towards the men's bathroom. And I like to wander down hallways and just see where things go. And so on the one side, there's a private gaming salon, and then there's the ladies' bathroom with a sitting area. You go a little further, there's another private gaming salon and a men's bathroom with a sitting area. And the hallway keeps going. And I thought, well, I'm going to see what's down that hallway. So I keep going down the hallway, and you hit a T intersection, and I look to the left, and there's just open back of house kitchen. And I look to the right, and there's another open back of house thing. Like you go from
probably not supposed to be there.
Right. Well, you go from this lovely carpet to this white plain hospital tile look. And it's one of those things we've heard stories about Fontainebleau because of the way it was constructed over the last 20 years about hallways to nowhere and things like that. And that was exactly what this was. There was no way for me to know not to go down that hallway or, I just kind of continued down this hallway in the high limit area. And next thing I know, I'm back of house.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was weird.
Why not? Let's just go down random hallways and see what happens. Players Club. Did you get signed up and did they match?
So it's a good question. Good thing you asked that question. I was signed up in advance because I had reached out to a host before this trip, remember, to even see if I could get into the special top secret. And so he had signed me up for a Players Club. So I was signed up. When I got to the host desk at 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, I was told they stopped batching at 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, which was the weirdest thing I think I have ever heard.
So they matched for about 7.5 hours.
Yep. And I wasn't the only one who's told that. So it wasn't just a, mistake that somebody told me. Joyce was also told that. And I saw it on Twitter and Facebook that some people were able to match at different times and some people weren't.
That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. But quite frankly, it actually goes well in line with what we've seen from their marketing leading up to their opening. So it actually is kind of fitting.
I think if I had to say, I texted Chris, I was struck by the construction that was still going on all over the place. There were things you'd expect. Like some of the restaurants were closed off and they were working on the restaurants and things. But I went up one of the escalators to the second floor of this mezzanine level that looks out over the casino floor. I thought it'd be fun to look down from up there and to see what was up there. And that's where their Live nightclub is, which was where I think they had the big opening night party with Timberlake and things. There was confetti on the floor. And all of a sudden I'm in the middle of construction crews. Like I'm just a guest that was able without any sort of stanchions blocking me off or anything. They're out there working on the
in a hard hat only area.
Right. It's that kind of stuff that I think we'll talk about my stay there in a second, but that kind of there were a lot of unfinished pieces and it kind of tied in with their weird marketing rollout. All this stuff just seemed kind of haphazard. Let's get the Fontainebleau open and going and just throw caution to the wind.
You're a standalone property without an established player base and you expect to steal some people over. And clearly they're trying to be more of a luxurious resort.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to be a nicer Resorts World is what it kind of sounds like. Cause I think Resorts World thought they were going to be that too. But if you're going to try to do that, you're not stealing players away when you're giving them no chance to have any sort of status at the beginning.
No.
People like you and I are not bouncing to a new property and starting on the ground floor and having nothing available to us. We're not going to do it. Why would we? We would go anywhere else. I don't understand the thought process behind that. I saw people online saying they did get matched. I saw people the first night saying they couldn't get matched because you had to do it through a host. It was all over the place, the responses people were getting on if they would or if they wouldn't. I don't think that was the smartest idea that they had. But let's fast forward a little bit, Josh. You played there. You said you had a good time. You enjoyed the cruise, but you ended up staying there. And that is not what you had booked originally, because I know you were going to be staying at a Caesars property that night. So what happened?
So I was going to be staying at Planet Hollywood that night. I had a 6 a.m. flight out the next morning. So I didn't want to stay another night at Wynn because I didn't think I could get the suite on this would have been a Thursday night. And so I didn't want to try and go to another room at Wynn, but I also didn't want any pressure to play. So I had set things up that I was going to stay. I got comped at Planet Hollywood. Of course, Chris, when I eventually canceled the reservation at Planet Hollywood, I had to pay $50.
I paid that fee at least 6 times in the past year for trips I was going to take and didn't take.
So I got to thinking as I was about to check out of Wynn, all the stuff with Fontainebleau, I kind of liked it. I was like, I wonder if I could get a room there tonight. What a great thing for the show that would be. I wouldn't be gambling much.
That's why you did it. Yeah.
It was. So I reached back out to that host that I talked to and I said, hey, I extended my trip. Any chance you can get me a room for tonight? And he really quickly said, absolutely. I'll code you as a VIP, whatever that means, and I'll get you a room. Mm-hmm. So, and he said, give me like 15, 20 minutes. So I said, play around at Wynn. In fact, I think I hit another hand pay at Wynn on the NFL machine. It was like the last thing I did. Yeah. Sure
Taking
made it.
advantage of Win at this point,
Right,
Josh.
exactly.
Just stealing their money.
And then off I go to Fontainebleau again. So I go first thing to the check-in area, and there's a VIP room, Chris. So I went in there, as my host had kind of said that he thought I should be able to do that. So again, a little bit of uncertainty on, is this going to work or not? I go in there, and the woman is very helpful, but she says, your room's not ready yet. I had dropped my bags at the bell desk. I said, okay, this was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, fine. So I go off and I play some more Heidi, what do you call it? The barrel, roll a barrel Heidi, and I got another hand pay. So
Nice.
yeah, it was great. So I did that for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I hadn't had a text back about my room. So it's about 5:30 now, and I thought my room should be ready by now.
It's got to be ready by now, right?
So I go back to the VIP desk. There's a big line. So I'm like, screw this. I just go to the front desk. Their lobby area, by the way, is beautiful, huge, lots of roses, really pretty. So I go to the front desk, really nice lady, no line. She gets on the phone. She's talking. She's kind of got some scowly looks to her. And she said, she comes back and she said, really nice. She said, well, it turns out your room isn't available. The room you were assigned isn't available, but I was able to get you an upgrade. So,
Okay, perfect.
yeah. So I get what I later found out was a royal suite. But I will say, Chris, if I hadn't gone back, I'm curious, would anybody have
What
ever
would have
said,
happened?
right?
Would anybody would have ever texted you or just let you know?
I have a sneaky feeling that I went into that woman at the VIP desk and nothing happened. Like, I think when I saw the lady at the check-in desk, that was, from her point of view, the first they had ever heard of me.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
So
No,
that
I
was
gotcha.
a little bit disappointing. So I'll go I know we're going long, but I'll go really quickly into the room itself. So Fontainebleau, I think kind of as you said, Chris, I wouldn't say it's trying to go for Resorts World. I think it's trying to go for Aria and Wynn guests. I think it's aiming that high. And it has some things about it that are close. So this royal suite, you can look it up on YouTube. There's videos of it, or at least a floor plan. I have a video of the room on our Facebook page of my view of it. If you think of 2 shoeboxes, Chris, that's how I would describe the room. And when I say 2 of them, the wall between the 2 shoeboxes is the wall in the room. I didn't like it. I didn't like the sitting room. So if you're looking at 2 shoeboxes, that would be the left of the 2 shoeboxes, because it felt like a shoebox to me. That's why I'm using that description. It was long and narrow, and the wall separating the sitting room from the bedroom made it feel like I was just in this kind of claustrophobic-y long room. And I didn't care for that. So I don't know if it's just this room or if they all have some design issues kind of like that, but I would never want to just relax in that space. The bedroom space was fine, but this sitting space just felt like forced to me. It reminded me of little rooms at like the Link almost. I don't mean to offend Fontainebleau with that. They were very nice to give me this suite, but it wasn't my favorite room configuration. Some things they do that are on par luxury-wise, they have, I think, really nice luxury bath products in really fancy star-shaped containers, like or some sort of weird-shaped containers. They have a shoehorn, Chris, like Wynn does.
Oh, good. I was very curious about that.
They have slippers with bow ties on them. They have a lint roller in this fancy leather case that I may or may not have taken with me. They have, all the kind of modern luxury stuff. One thing they don't have, I think they fall short, is they don't have any sort of tablets. So we talked about remotes for the TV. That's all you get. So if you want to do some of the things you would normally do on a tablet at Wynn or Aria, like order room service or anything like that, you can't do. You just have to use the phone. So there is a little bit of, there's kind of some old school parts too that don't have the tech that I would expect at that level. I don't know why that is, but the room. Oh, the other part of goofy thing about the room was, so this left hand of the shoebox, the left shoebox, I had a powder room, so a bathroom in the sitting area. Except I later found out it was a 3/4 bath, so it had a shower in it. The reason I didn't know that to begin with, and if you look at the room video I shot, you don't see it, because the door to the bathroom opens inward, and the room is so small, you can't see the shower when you look into the bathroom. You have to go into the bathroom and close the door before you can even get to the shower space. It's that small an area. And again, it's my thought of, it's like they tried to force too much into that space. And that kind of fits in with the whole, I think they were going for a lot of luxury, but I think they they don't hit the level of Wynn for sure. And I don't think it hits the level of some of the nicer properties at MGM either.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at your video, I saw the pictures, I talked to you a little bit about it. I'm trying to describe their design aesthetic, and I would say very minimalist.
Yeah.
There wasn't any decor around the room that I could see. I mean, there's no decorative books or art pieces that are randomly set. I mean, every countertop seemed to be completely empty other than like an ice bucket or the room service or the mini bar items that they clearly stole the design from Wynn, by the way. I mean, whoever did the mini bar, that was Wynn's design. It seemed very lacking, very minimal. It did seem extremely cramped. I know a lot of people said with the bar that extends in the kitchen area, literally, I mean, it cuts the room in half and makes it very small in the living space. I'm sure it's nice. It didn't impress me just watching the video. It's not a room that I would ever want to go out of my way to stay in.
No, that's really honestly what I thought too. I mean, I would gladly stay there again, and I hope to stay at Fontainebleau, and I don't want this to be Fontainebleau is bad or anything. I liked it better than Resorts World for sure. Having one front desk is an enormous improvement over the various front desks you get at Resorts World. I like that a lot. So and the room was fine. All the bow tie stuff was really neat, and there are some fine features. The bed was very comfortable, obviously brand new, things like that. It just what I'm looking for, if I'm comparing it to, maybe everything shouldn't get compared to Wynn and Sky Suites, but if I'm comparing it to those, it didn't quite hit that mark. And then all sorts of goofy, undone things. Again, Chris, I needed ice from the ice machine. There's no sign to where the ice machine is by the elevators. Normally when you get on and you see go this direction you see ice. There wasn't anything like that. So I just started to wander around my floor, hoping I'd run into the ice room. And there I found the ice room. In the ice room was all sorts of construction debris. The ice machine worked, but again, like unfinished pieces. And I found myself thinking, would a really nice 5-star property, which is what I think this is aspiring to be, have opened a floor with the ice machine room in that kind of disarray? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't been around a property opening like this before, but I have a hard time thinking that Wynn or Encore would have opened with this level of construction still.
I think we talked about it on this show, but I'm not 100% sure. I was at Resorts World 3 times the first month it was open, and I was there the first week it was open. And that was the biggest issue I had at that property, is that the floors that they opened were not ready. I think I told the story on here. At one point, I got up to my floor after they gave me my suite. It was a Crockford suite on the top floor. It was a penthouse room. Beautiful room, really was. But when you got off the elevator, there were no signs telling you like rooms 1 through 50 are this way and rooms 51 through 100 are this way. So I wandered down a hall and then had to turn around and come all the way back to figure out exactly where it was. There were many times that I took elevators where it said their Sky Casino, whatever they call it, was on the 67th floor, and it said it on the elevator sign. And I would go up to the 67th floor or whatever floor it was, and all it was hotel rooms. There was no casino there. So I took the elevator back down to the lobby and I said, hey, where is this place? He said, oh, it's on this floor. I said, I know, I just went up there and it's all hotel rooms. Oh, you have to actually use this other elevator that's out in the main area. And I walked down there, and then there's a completely different elevator you have to take to the same floor, but in a different area. I think those things are pretty common when a property opens at the beginning, but I do agree. You get one chance to make a first impression with people.
Right.
And if you're going to do that, then you better make sure everything's set up and ready to go and everybody sees luxury if you want to portray yourself as a luxurious property.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. So I want to go back. I want you to go back. I want to play there some more. I really did like the casino floor. It's huge, and I got lost a lot. But I get lost at Planet Hollywood, so, big deal. But I thought it was beautiful. It was really, really pretty, and I encourage everybody to go check it out and see what you think. The last thing, Chris, I do think it suffers from the same problem as Resorts World in its proximity to some areas of the Strip that are not desirable, and it gets foot traffic from those areas. And I saw people wandering around that it just didn't make me feel comfortable.
No, I understand. I mean, we've talked about that a lot with Resorts World. One of the reasons we don't like that area up there when you get to the northern part of the Strip. That was my big concern, is location of this property. I do think they'll do well with convention folk.
Oh, yeah.
The location for conventions is terrific.
It is right next to it.
I mean, so that really does help them, and I think that will help them do well. So yeah, Josh, I think the property, it looks very nice in photos. I can't wait to get there myself to actually check it out and see what my initial impressions are. When I'm in Vegas in a week or so, I don't think I'm going to have time to sneak over there. Maybe I can get one session in for like an hour just to say, but you know me, I don't like to make a bad first impression.
Right.
So if I'm going to play someplace, I'd rather have all day available so that I can get on their radar if I really want to do something with them.
That's actually part of the reason I was happy I went back, because I had that morning session and then I played another crap session in the afternoon and then all that slot play. So I think they're probably happy with the 1 day play they got out of me.
I'm sure.
So as far as Fontainebleau, again, I think I really like the property. I'd like to go back, and those are my initial thoughts. Hopefully it'll grow and become a little more, they'll fix some of these loose ends over the next couple months. I think it's going to be a challenge, though. But I think one thing, Chris, is, to me, could be totally wrong, but I think this is the death knell, the final nail in the coffin for Resorts World. I mean, I could see a lot of Resorts World traffic, the tourist traffic, going over to Fontainebleau easily.
Okay, Josh, listener questions and comment time. We received a DM from Lou, who is a new patron of ours. Lou, thank you for joining. He said, I just joined you on Patreon and thought of a question. Does the pit take into account pressing approaches when determining your average bet? I was thinking of this last weekend as I was playing this new strategy. He switched from a 3-point molly to 135 across.
Good man, Lou.
Not the best. I mean, we appreciate it, but whatever, which is a blast, by the way. And a few times I had $750 to $1,000 in place bets due to pressing. What is the best way to confirm if they do factor this in? Should I be asking the pit or host desk after? Enjoying the cast. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Lou, as I said. So the answer is it should be counted, because an average bet, your rating is your average. So if you're pressing, if you're changing your bets, it should be factored in. I think quite often it's not. Quite often your rating is a snapshot in time. So whether that's the beginning of your play, the end of your play, whenever. So if you get lucky and you have your bets pressed up whenever they happen to look, it might get factored in there. If it's at the beginning and you start with 135 across, you might just get $150 rating or so. What I've started to do, and I did a lot more on this trip, is ask what my rating was in the middle of play. So I would say to the box when he had a moment when it looked like it was slow, do you mind if I ask what you've got me rated? Or have you got me somewhere between 400 and 500 or whatever? Just to kind of get a quick little idea of, am I on the right track? And that's it. And to try and be as kind of just easygoing about it as possible. But there's not really much you can do after the fact to change your rating, at least that I'm aware of. Right at the very end, if you want to ask the box what they have you rated at, but that's about as far as you can go to get it changed usually.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think most of the time, a lot of those press moves get completely ignored. There are still a lot of boxes and floor supervisors that think you're, quote unquote, playing with house money when you're winning and raising your bets, which is ridiculous. That's money that you can put in your pocket and take home. That is your money. But they don't see them the same way. I know a lot of places have a tendency, and this is what I prefer, they'll record your bet at multiple times and they won't take the highest, they won't take the lowest, they'll try to pick something in the middle. I think that is by far the most fair way to do it.
Yep.
I don't want if my bets get up to $5,000 at some point, I don't expect that as my rating, but I also don't expect 500 as my rating. Find me somewhere in the middle. That makes me happy. But yeah, all you can really do is ask as you're playing if you want to, or at the very end of the session. But once you leave, unless you get like 0 points for a session because they completely forgot to record you, there's nothing a host is going to do after the fact.
Yeah. And hopefully if they're doing a good job, as Chris said, they're checking periodically throughout your play and can balance it out that way. Those are the best. I like those boxes the best. The ones that you see them looking at your bets every 5 minutes and typing that into the computer. I'm great with that.
Aria does that a lot, Josh. I've never seen a property that updates your rating more than they do.
Yeah.
Okay, we got an email from Tim G. Tim said, do you guys ever miss the days of low-level gambling? I'm sure it's absolutely amazing staying in the nicest places and having everything you could want, but do you ever wish you could just play and stay at a cheap strip property again?
I wish that sometimes, especially after a trip like this where I lose.
Yes.
And I think maybe I'm going to have to do that. No, one of the things, it's hard, and we've always cautioned this, when you take a step up in your gambling, it's hard to go back. It's mentally difficult to go back and have the same fun. It's like a drug. it's the same thing. Once you get used to a certain level of high, it's hard to go back. So do I wish I could go back and gamble at those levels? Well, not knowing what I know now, going back and playing whatever it was. I used to bluff 3-point Molly with a $5 line bet and 2 times odds doesn't seem as fun to me right now. But I also understand that if I need to, I better be willing to go back to that level at some point, because who knows, at some point in my life, maybe when I'm retired and on fixed income, in a couple of years from now, Chris, that
yeah, it's coming. Get ready for it, Josh.
I set the line up for you there. That
Medicaid is coming right at you.
That I might need to play at that level. So you in the back of my head, I think I should be able to have fun at any level, but it's hard.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, it's not so much the playing at the lower level part, because I'm terrible at that. And Josh has talked about that. I've talked about it. I don't do well dropping down. What I do miss, though, is staying at those properties. Like, I really like Planet Hollywood. I like staying there. Their rooms are nowhere near Aria, Wynn, Venetian, even Resorts World. They're not even on that level.
Even Fontainebleau, right?
Yeah, but I really like staying there. I think it's a good time. I used to stay at, 2 years ago, I used to stay at Flamingo all the time before I met Josh. He was a bad influence on me.
I ruined you, yeah.
But I used to stay at Flamingo all the time. I liked playing there. I even like staying there. I'll go to New York, and places like that and stay and be happy. Nowadays, it's just, I know that I'm only going to get an X number of trips in a year. And it's, do I really want to waste a trip, staying and playing at a lower level property when I can do the nicer experience? And so most of the time that I have one of those trips planned, I end up canceling and booking somewhere else is what ends up happening.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I do sometimes think longingly back on those days when, kind of touched on it earlier, when I was just so excited about a $50 food and beverage offer from Bellagio. I thought I could stay at Bellagio and get $50 in food and beverage and a room. And that was like so cool. And I do miss kind of the not nearly having the pressure that I feel sometimes that we have now.
Yeah, I think the expectations that we have now, they've grown so much. It is hard to appreciate what sometimes these properties are doing. And I know there's been even times where Josh and I have sat down and been like, if you factor in the cost of this room and this meal and this massage and stuff, they're giving us X dollars and it's some huge number. And you don't realize it because every time you go, whether you're playing more or not, you just expect more than the time that you went before.
Right.
So your expectations keep growing and what you get doesn't always grow to that level. So what do you end up doing? You end up pivoting to a different property that will give you more.
Right.
And then you miss the property you came from when you realize how good they are. And you go back to them and then you just bounce back and forth.
Exactly.
Question from Michael Traeger. We mentioned him earlier. He said, do you ever dream or daydream about rolls at craps or even Vegas in general?
I don't know about you, Chris, but I do. But usually it's right before or after a trip. I'll have craps dreams. And I'm not somebody who really remembers my dreams much, but I know that I do have them. And the same thing with Vegas. I don't think the further I get removed from it, the fewer I have. But yeah, I have craps dreams sometimes. How about you?
I have not once ever had a craps dream. Like I've had a generic gambling dream, I think, like when I thought I was in Vegas while I was sleeping or something when I was younger. No, I can't think of any time, though, anything specific like that. Now, maybe I am and I'm just forgetting them all. Yeah, but that's just, that's not something, like, I think for better or for worse, we're out there a lot and we do this show. So we are constantly working on something Vegas or gambling related. So it's never very far from your mind because you're usually doing something related to it.
Right. Thanks, Michael. Great question.
Final question this week. We got a question from Martin on the Facebook group. He was asking, he went to a couple properties recently, and Josh, they had the new version of bubble craps. And I don't know if you've seen this, but the way it works is now there are 3 dice and they're 3 different colors, red, yellow, and green.
Oh my God.
And before the roll happens, the player chooses 2 dice that they're going to use on that individual roll. Okay. And I think the reason being, some people think, oh, those dice are loaded, and they're always going to come up to make you a loser. Well, if there's 3 dice and you have to pick 2 of them, then you choose your result. Because if you choose red and green, it might give you a yo on the come out and you're a winner. And if you picked green and yellow, it was a 12 and you craps and you lost your line bet, whatever it may be. Do you think that that's a fun way to play and would you enjoy that?
I'm just thinking, we choose dice and regular craps now. You pick your 2 that you want. So this is kind of a a way to approximate that. I could see it being a little fun, and then you could have fun with, darn it, I chose the wrong one. But I'm not one of those people believes that those dice are in some way fixed. So from that standpoint, it doesn't bother me. But yeah, it adds a little bit of maybe fun to it.
Oh, I think that the mental agony that this way of playing would cause, that would be miserable.
Because they're all still shaking, probably.
Well, no, you see all three each time. So unlike you choosing two dice,
good point. Yeah.
This time you're going to see the results if you would have chosen a different combination. So every time you roll, you would have been like, God, if I just chose this color, I would have had a hard 6 and made $100. I mean, can you imagine? You'd have to second guess everything that you did.
Okay, you're right.
No chance am I playing a game that way. I will not touch that machine. I understand why they made it, but that would just do mind effing of myself, and I'm not doing that. He did ask if we had any thoughts, experiences, or strategies. I think, as we just said, I mean, same strategies at a normal table. It won't change if you're playing bubble craps. I haven't played any, so I have no experiences, and my thoughts are that sounds horrible.
Yeah, no
Very
particular
succinct.
strategies for me either.
Okay, Josh, let's wrap it up. Patreon. That's patreon.com/crapvegas. The CV Property Bracket Challenge is now in full swing. That preview show is now available in video and audio format on there. And voting has opened at this point. It actually opened a few days ago. We're going to run that in 1 week segments by region. So you can still get in for a $1,000 top prize in our contest that we're hosting. And a big thank you to the new patrons this week. That's Brian B., Jessica G., Gene W., Lewis N., and Taylor Vegas.
Thank you guys very much. And as we always say, your support really helps us stay motivated and try and put together fun shows for you and do the work of being a Vegas influencer. So we really appreciate.
That's what we are.
We really appreciate your support. I mean it. And it means a lot to us and helps keep us enthusiastic about the show. So thank you.
Absolutely. And a quick recap, Josh, on our NFL survival pool that we had on there, our big contest to see who could make it to the end. It is finally over. In first place, we had Jay King. He won a $100 Amazon gift card. In second place, we had Patrick H. He won a $50 Amazon gift card. And stupid me not thinking ahead and thinking multiple people could tie for the same thing. So for third place, we had Bogan
47 people.
Yeah, 47 people. Bogan P, Ryan H, Andrew M, Jeff F,
Jeez, Chris.
KG, and Ryan K. They all tied for third. So I just told them all they can pick anything on the store and I'll ship it to them, no problem. That was just the easiest way to me get past that. So congratulations to all 57 of you, it sounds like, that won a prize. But hopefully everybody had a good time. And here we are, Josh, now with the new bracket thing, giving away over 10 times that amount of money.
Very cool. Very cool. Congratulations, you guys. You made it further than I did, for sure.
Upcoming trips, Josh. I will be at Venetian Palazzo in less than a week after this comes out, in a few days. I'll be there December 27th through the 29th. I'll actually be staying at Palazzo. I really want to check out that new high limit pit and see that new fancy high limit craps table that they have. If you're in town that week, you're welcome to come join me. Josh will be nowhere near me, so I'll have plenty of space.
Yeah. And I will be in Vegas with Chris on January 19th through 21st, I think, right? Staying at Aria.
Correct.
We know of at least one patron who is going to be joining us, one fan of the show, James, who we mentioned as our moderator of our Facebook group, I think is now in a great deal of internal struggle about where to stay, because he can get comped at Wynn, but he can't get comped at Excalibur or Luxor or anywhere in the MGM family. So he's struggling.
I did tell him I would pay for his room if he wanted to stay Excalibur. I thought that was a nice offer of mine. He could be in the MGM family and have a room.
That's right.
I mean, geez, what do you want from me? Let's see. A friendly reminder to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and to visit our merch store, crapvegas.com/shop. Josh, we did get another nice 5-star review this week from Urban Blues. He says, great show. I love craps and play just about anywhere from Jerry's Nugget to the Bellagio. A little too steakhouse heavy for me, but very enjoyable. I would like to hear a little bit about the advantages of off-strip versus strip at some point. We did actually touch on that a little bit this week, unrelated to that, and I'm sure we can talk about it more in the future. And yeah, you know what? I'm allergic to shellfish. And so I typically stay away from seafood in general. So I do have a tendency to lean towards the steakhouse side of things, although I do love some good Italian as well. But that's just, that's what you get when you get me.
Yeah, I agree. We like steak. What can we say?
Yeah, meat and potatoes. You
That's
know,
right.
I mean,
But
if
thanks
you're
for the
looking at
review.
the video of this right now and seeing us on Patreon in video form, you'll know we're meat and potatoes guys. We're not vegans. So, I mean, just
I'm
let you know
Irish,
now.
so I pretty much have to be meat and potatoes.
Exactly. Josh, anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here this week?
Last thing I was going to say, one more thought, Chris, on Fountain Blue and the initial. I'm just having fun with some of the little struggles that they had that every property is going to have when it opens. So, Chris, I had a 6 a.m. flight on whatever morning it was, so I had to get up at 4:30. So, of course, I set my alarm on my phone, but I wanted to have a wake-up call. So they don't have a button on their phone wake-up call, so I call the front desk.
Okay.
I had to wait on hold for about 10 minutes, and then I get a person who has obviously no clue how to set a wake-up call. So
that doesn't make me feel very comfortable with
I
this
know.
situation.
So at one point, he's doing it. It's taking a little while. Then let me put you on hold while I see if the system took this. And he comes back and he said, yep, we've got the wake-up call in the system.
Josh, next time this happens, text me. I will call you in the morning because 4:30 for you is 7:30 for me. I've been up for a couple of hours at that point. I'd
But
be
I
glad
don't
to
want to
call
leave
you.
my phone on overnight. I mean, I've got it on vibrate, so the alarm rings through, but it doesn't. I'd have to set you as.
You just got to set me as one of those important people that I can get through your sleep, your sleep awakening thing. But
for the record,
whatever.
he's not that yet. So yeah, that would.
Golly, boy, we all know our role now. I'm glad we got that established.
But anyway, I thought that was a fun little Fountain Blue. I encourage everybody to check it out. And the room was very nice, and no complaints there. A few little flaws here and there, but everybody should give it a try.
Absolutely, I'll check it out soon, Josh. But thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
This is a test. If you want to reach us via email, you can do so at podcast@crapvegas.com. Don't we usually start by saying how you can get in touch with us?
Yes.
You'd think after doing this for like a year and a half, we'd have this down.
We're only 44 episodes in.
I know. I don't know what's
Yes,
going
that
on.
is how. If you'd like to get in touch with us,
That's right. Okay, if you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email us. That's podcast@crapvegas.com. You can reach us on Facebook. That's crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can leave us a voicemail. That's crapvegas.com/voice. There we go again. Can we record in the mornings or something? Like first thing. 6 a.m.
it's not that late. Now, as we quickly, Chris, as we quickly, Chris,
Here, you can say that again because I'm going to have to cut that out. Or you can.
I'm going to cut that out. I don't know how
you gotta
you're
do the
going to
audio.
cut it out.
No, yeah, exactly. Go ahead.